What's up? This is Richie from the Where We Wild YouTube channel, and today I got a Shimano SLX 151XG. This reel actually belongs to the missus. This is Jamie's reel, and she said it was looking a little dirty, so I thought I'd take it apart for her and clean it up. Add my usual assortment of oil and grease, get it running nice and smooth. So if you're at home trying to take yours apart, you can follow along and hopefully it'll help you out. Let's get into it. All right, the Shimano SLX 151XG. Cool little reel, man. Really, really cool. She's loved this thing so far. She caught her PB on this reel day one of using it. Unbelievable. Didn't even know how to use a bait caster. This is her first bait caster ever. Day one using it, caught her PB. I'll link that video at the end of this one if you want to check it out. It was pretty awesome. All right, let's get into it, man. This one is going to require a little bit of cleanup, so if it takes me too long to kind of wipe it up and clean some of the dirt out, I will speed up the video for you so you don't have to watch that. But I will show you what to look out for, you know, if you're trying to clean yours too. So let's start with a little flathead screwdriver here. Take this little front plate off the nut. I say it all the time, but I like to use a little flathead for these screws because the Phillips head can strip them out. You can actually see a little blue Loctite on there. They always do that. Little cap there for your nut. Oops. Just gonna take a Q-tip here. And just kind of wipe any dirt out along the way. Nothing too crazy so far. And I think we got a 10mm nut here. We're going to be going clockwise with it to the right. And I'm just going to put enough force on it to bust it loose, and then I'll switch over to my fingers. That's it. Take off this handle. There's a washer on the back of this. That's what makes your drag work. I'm just going to sit that back on there. Pull this whole star off. And I'm just going to place everything in the order of which I took it off and just run my way down here. It makes life easier. That way later on we can just go in reverse. I just wanted to give a quick little wipe out here to the inside of this nut there. Back of this handle. Make sure, yeah, we got a little something going on here. A little sand, a little dirt. Just gotta wipe that up real fast. Not so bad. Star drag's looking pretty good. A little blowout. Yeah, we got some stuff going on in here. So, you know, you just want to look out behind the button here, down along the reel seat area, and I'm just going to kind of take a Q-tip, wipe all that out, and I'll speed this up for you. The other spot you want to look for is just back behind it, around the worm gear, along the sides. Just get a good look at it. Yeah, man, this thing's dirty for sure. It's going to take me a couple minutes to clean this up, so let me wipe it down for a few, try to get it as clean as I can get it, and then we will jump cut and we'll move on. All right, so as you can see by my little collection of Q-tips and even a toothpick to help me get in there, I spent a few minutes trying to wipe off any of the old crap that's in here. You know, stuff happens, sand, dirt, you know, some weeds from the lake, whatever it is, algae. And I pretty much, you know, just gave it a little once over, tried to dig into the little crevices and stuff. Once I start taking it apart a little more, I'll probably have to do a little bit more of that, but for now, all good. All right, let's move on. We got this nut here. It just goes clockwise to the right. Take this off. I'm seeing a little bit of crap underneath here. All right, so underneath this, you got a little washer. One side silver, the other side is like a brass type of color. A little junk on there, just wiping that off. And the gray side was facing up, so just remember that. And then remember there's that groove in the top of the nut here for the spring to sit. Place that all in there together. Next up, we got two little tension washers here. These two spring washers sit opposite each other, and they just kind of give a little spring action to the drag star. They can either go like this, like parentheses, or back-to-back parentheses, either way. All right, I'm seeing a little bit of crap in here. Just gonna give a little wipe out. I have to do a little bit better of a job once I take it all apart. But there's just a little bit of dirt and sand in there. All right, let's take the spool out. Little open door, open and close latch there, pop that up. What has she been throwing this thing on? Wow, the missus only has 2 brakes on. How about that? It's kind of cool to see. All right, now there's no spool, I'm sorry, there's no bearing on this spool or anything like that. Just using this little blower, make sure I can get all that stuff off, make sure there's no sand or anything in there. And now all right, let me get a little wipe out here too. We have our first bearing coming up in here. So just all this little stuff here and there, man. When a reel's been used for a little while, it's just been using it for probably about a year, a little over a year straight. And this is the first time it's been cleaned, so it's not looking so bad so far. All right, we got our first bearing down here, so let's get a look at that. You'll get a better look at this one, but there's a little bit of a spring clip in there, and you'll see a break in it. And you want to start at one of the sides and just keep your thumb over it as you pry it out, so it doesn't go flying on you, or your whatever finger you can get over it. Just taking a little flathead and just kind of prying it up, just like that. Magnetized. You're gonna take a little bearing remover tool. I'll link all this stuff in the description as usual, by the way, the mat, all my tools, nice little toolkit here, precision screwdriver set, bearing removers, oil, grease, all that stuff. It'll all be linked in the description for you if you want to check it out and grab some of your own. These tools make life way easier. It's just a little hook, basically, this little bearing remover. You just stick it, hook it underneath that bearing and just kind of pull straight up. Just like that. Let's give a little wipe out in there. Looking pretty good. I'm just going to clean this bearing up. Throw it on our bearing tester. Add a little oil. Feels good. Flip it over, one more little drop. Cool. Get that back in. We're just gonna make sure to sit it down all the way, just like that. And we're just gonna throw our little clip back in. Basically just trying to put, it's hard, man, I have big hands, but you're basically trying to put one side in first and then just snap the rest of it in place, just like that. Make sure it's all sat down in there. You'll hear it click. All right, we got a little bit of junk still left in here that I didn't see when the spool was in. So I'm just gonna give that a quick wipe. Get any little sand out that's in this area here. Not so bad, but you can see a little bit of something something. And blow out as well. All right, let's close this door up. Move on. Looking pretty good. All right, next up, let's take apart this, take this tension knob off. We're gonna be going to the left with it, counterclockwise. We can get at this bearing. Same deal, just find the brake and the little spring clip there. Start on one side of it, keep your finger over it, and just give it a little pry up. Bearing remover. This one's in there a little tighter. And we'll be gentle yet forceful. We'll wipe out around the edge of this. Now that the cap's off, knob. Not so bad, a little something something. Okay. Let's clean this bearing off. God, this is so hard to hold on to. It's so small and slippery little sucker. All right. Throw that on our tester. Not bad. I think there's only 3 bearings on this reel, if I'm not mistaken, so we've got 2 of them done so far. And I guess the other one would just be in the main. I think it's 3. Alright, let's sit this bad boy back in here. You just want to make sure you stick it all the way down, get it sat nice and flush. And then we're just going to get this little pin back in here, or clip back in here. These will go flying on you, so just be careful. Set it down in there with your finger. Double check it with a little flathead. Rock and roll. I'll just put that on there for later. All right, next up we got a few screws here. I think we got 4 of them, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. Let's get those going here. Start with this one. And I like that flathead, man. I say it all the time. It just helps you not strip the screws out as easy. And they will strip. All right, I don't know if you can see this grid up here that I have going on, but I'm gonna put these in the order of which I found them. Make my life a little easier. Just kind of putting them in the exact pattern, like this one's a little higher than this one, just on that slant, just so you know. I think these might be all the same size except for this bottom one here, but it's just good to know what screw went in the exact spot it was at, where it went exactly. This one's a little longer. Just down at the bottom. And then we got one more here on the top. Yeah, was short. Alrighty, and away we go. Here we go. Just need a little bit of finessing. Whoa! Jeez, look at this. Alrighty. This thing just needs a little bit of a cleanup. Okay, let me just place that there. Wow. See all that stuff, man? That's pretty gnarly, huh? Alrighty. Well, that's what happens. Used to seeing those brand new reels. Alright, let's take this roller clutch inner tube out of here. Just with the tweezers, I'm just going to grab one of those teeth, slide that out. I don't see any washer on it. Usually there's washers on them, like on the Corrado reels or other reels like that. This one doesn't seem to have one. Just gonna wipe it out with a Q-tip, get all that crap off, get nice and shiny and clean. I'm gonna do the same with the roller clutch in here. Just get a little wipe out. Gonna get any old gnarly grease out of here. Gnarly, dude. Gnarly, bro. Nice wipe out on the inside. Sand, anything like that. When I go close to here, I'm going to switch over to a new, fresh Q-tip. That's for show. You don't have to oil or grease this. This is like a friction-driven deal here, so. But you do want it clean. All right. Moving on here. Let's take these little springs off so they don't go flying. Then we're gonna just slightly pull up on the main gear. Place that off to the side. Look at this. That is just ridiculously gnarly. Pull up on the pinion. And then we gotta just kind of wipe all this stuff off. Good Lord. That's some gnarly stuff right there. Sheesh. That's nuts. It's basically just wiping out all this old grease. Wiping off the pinion. Gonna wipe off the main. And we're gonna hook up the old drag. Clean all this up. Sometimes I like to take my little air blower here, just blow it through the pinion gear, make sure there's nothing in there. All right, pinion gear check. I need a new paper towel. Drag washer? There it is. Drag washer and the little cog down there. Let's pull this off, get at the drag washer rather. Ooh man, old school. Not carbon fiber. That's interesting. Might have to upgrade that for. Those washers get it done too, but it's nice if you upgrade those to carbon fiber. Just gonna kind of pat it dry, wipe off little rubs, and add my own stuff to it. It's not so bad. Not so bad at all. Wipe this piece off. Now, there's a rounded side and a flat side to this. You'll feel it and you'll see it in hand. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but flat side faces up. Jeez, man, look at that gnarly grease inside the spring here. Jeez. Gnarly. Just Just gently giving that a wipe. I don't want to crush the springs, but it's not too bad. Right, I'm just going to kind of wipe out any old grease that's in here. Anything that's really sloppy or out of control. It's not so bad. Just kind of got smashed around a little. This toothpick is nice because you can grab little chunks of stuff easier than you can with, say, just the Q-tip. Alright, all this old grease out of the way. We're going to take a completely fresh Q-tip and just wipe around the inside of this main bearing real quick. Now we're just going to drop a little bit of oil right off the side here and catch onto the lip of the main bearing. And I'm going to put a little extra, just a little bit on each side. And we're going to take our bearing tester, sit it down in there, and just work in that fresh oil. Feels good. Just tiny bit more here. That's cool. All right, now we're going to take some fresh grease. Actually, let's do our drag washers first, shall we? Bust out the old Cal's Universal Reel and Star Drag grease, and we're just going to put a little bit of a layer on our drag washers here. Not much, just a little bit. It's a nice little coating of sticky drag grease, and that'll keep the drag washers from burning up too fast. But I'll probably upgrade this for order a nice little carbon fiber drag. All right, very nice. Just tiny thin coating, nothing crazy, man, because you don't want it to slip on you. So you just kind of wipe off any excess, dry your hands on a paper towel, and you're just left with a little shine. Same deal on the small one. A little white. Kind of grabbed a little too much, so I'm just gonna have to wipe it off. Just a little coating. See how it's just, oops. See how it's just shiny? There's like no thick caked on layer or anything. It's just shiny. That's what you want. That's it for the drag grease. Let's move on to our blue grease. Little paintbrush here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just, actually, I'll show you where to place it on here. I mean, there's some left here, but you want to take a little bit, go right in between these gears, and instead of just painting around on the outside, just go right down the middle of both of them and they'll share it. Nothing crazy. Don't go too nuts with it, but just a nice little coating. They're plastic, but it's nice to just have a little in there for those to share, that's for sure. And you're going to want a little bit on this spring area, a little bit over here on this lever area, on these little ramps, and on these posts. And a little bit here where this slides back and forth, that little square area. That's cool. Nothing insane. Just a little coating. Nice. All right, now we can hook up our pinion gear. We're just going to put a little bit on these teeth. Not too much. It's going to share it with the main gear. You don't want too much piling up on you. All right. A little bit on our yoke. Just over those holes, over the middle. Just kind of give it a little once over glaze. Just nothing sloppy about it, but just glaze it up. Those little ramps on the sides, little indentation in the middle, a little bit in those holes, like I said. That deeper indentation is the bottom of it, so you know. And these ramps match up perfect with these two little ramps here. So in case you're wondering, is it upside down or what? That's how you tell. All right, now we're just gonna scoop up our pinion gear. We're gonna place it right on those posts facing the shaft here. Just let that pinion gear fit perfect right in that bearing and just slide down, just like that. I need a new paper towel. This is getting gnarly. Much better. All right, this top piece here is a dome shape, all right, and the top of the dome faces up. And I'm just gonna throw that on top of that main gear drag washer. And I'm just gonna support it so it doesn't fall off. And I'm just gonna hit this with a little bit of grease. Now you're gonna cover about 50–60% of this. And the easiest way to do it is to just tap. What's that there? Oh, it's just sticky. Tap, 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 tap. A little bit more on the brush. Tap, 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 tap. Just big taps. And then you take your finger and run it over the gear. And I'll just sit it right in those teeth. You want to keep the back of it as clean as you can. It's okay if you get a little on there, but just a couple more little taps here. $50–60%. That's what you want to cover on this thing. If you put too much, you're going to get a huge buildup on the back of the pinion gear, and we'll test that in a minute. You're just trying to hit these teeth. That looks pretty good. All right, ready to rock and roll here. Now, this little sprocket here, gonna just throw down onto the shaft, and you gotta make sure that it's rotated perfectly so it sits down square on square, because it's keyed. So you'll see it fall into place. Don't leave it like that or the reel's not gonna work. You gotta just slowly rotate it until it falls down perfectly flush and square, just like that. Next up is your little drag washer. Sit that down on there. Take your main gear. Top is keyed as well. So just kind of line that up. Slowly go down and let it fit nicely next to that pinion gear. And now, here's that little test I was talking about. We're gonna move this main gear around, and you're gonna see the grease get shared with this pinion gear. And if there's too much on, it's gonna build up a huge, huge mound of it right here, a little donut shape. And then we'll take that off if need be. But if it's a perfect amount, then you don't need to do that. I'll just make sure this is all fitting together. For some reason, this pinion gear doesn't like to sit on its own too close to that gear. So just be mindful of that. Skipping a little bit. Once that casing gets on that side plate, it'll compress all this. So that's why it's kind of skipping on me a little bit. All right, we're looking pretty good. I just always like to do that test, man, because sometimes I'll go a little nuts and I'll put too much on there and there'll be a huge buildup right there behind the pinion. All right, so we're ready to put this thing back together, man. Don't forget about those springs. We're gonna put those right on top of those little poles. Very nice. And then don't forget about your roller clutch inner tube. That's keyed as well. I just want to give it a little bit of a wipe to the top of this. Okay. Keyed. Fits perfect right down in there. If you go sideways, it's not going to fly. You got to rotate it so it sits perfect, flush down in there. Take a look around. We got everything done. Springs are back on. Bearing is oiled. Everything's greased up. All good. Let's put this thing back on. Just nice and gentle. Line it up. Little wiggle. You're going to feel those springs kind of hit your hands a little bit. There you go. Now just check, make sure there's no gaps. And your seam is just flawless all the way around. That whole case is, whole plate is on. Nice and tight. All right, let's get these screws back in. I believe we had the longer one on the inside bottom. Let's get that on there. Stick them with my little flathead. Nice, tight as tight. Putting them in the order where you found them really helps. You don't even have to think about it because it looks exactly like the shape of the reel. You got these two, which are the same size here. Get those pressed in. Yeah, this one fell out on me. Sometimes it's hard when you... come on, dude. When you have bigger hands, that's when you can bust out the old tweezers. All right, good stuff. Get that extra grease off it from my hands. Nice, dude. Now we just got to get this handle situation back together and we're ready to rock and roll. Oil a couple more things here and we're good. All right, let's get this handle on. So first and foremost, we have these two little tension washers and they're facing opposite each other. Get those on. Then you got your little nut. Now it's going to screw on to the left or counterclockwise. You don't have to tighten it down very much. Oop, the little washer fell off. Got to be careful. Remember, there was that washer that was stuck to this and it fell off. So just be mindful of that. Gray side was sticking to it and the copper side was facing down. So don't forget that. After those two spring washers, you got this washer, copper side down. Glad I caught that. Just fell right off on me. Now you got your nut, counterclockwise. Don't have to over tighten it. You can grab the shaft here and one little turn if you like. Spring. Now inside here, I didn't mention earlier, you're gonna have this tiny little part and it's very, very easy to lose it. You're never gonna see it on video probably, but there's a tiny little pin and spring that sits inside here. And that's kind of what makes your drag click when you tighten it or loosen it. So you just want to make sure that thing's all good and in place, and that top is back on. So you just want to support that top with your finger and just kind of find where it's going to be keyed, same shape. And you don't want that thing flying off on you, man, because that little pin and spring comes out, you're not going to be happy. I have done it. All right, you just want to make sure that's pressed all the way down. Nice and flush. And you got your handle. And I'm just transferring the weight. Basically, like there it was. Hear that little snap into place? I let off pressure for a second and it came up on me. Now it's sitting nice and flush. So now I just kind of four-seam fastball with my two fingers and just try to get that cap back on, or nut back on. Keeping pressure, 10 millimeter to the left, counterclockwise. Just one or two little turns just to tighten that up, and then you can lose the pressure. And now we're going to try to line up one of the points of this nut with this hole, which will kind of help ensure that our cap will go back on, because it's the same pattern as that nut and it's got to be perfect, or that little screw hole won't line up. Let's try that. Needs a little bit more. You see that gap right there? You want that sitting completely flush. So you either got to tighten it a little more or loosen it. And I'm gonna opt to tighten it a little bit more. There it is, baby. Nice and flush. You see that? No gap. That's what you want. And that always tells you, man, if you got to go tighter or looser. It's got to be perfect. It's like, where's my screwdriver? These little screws, sometimes it's good to go backwards and then forwards. Kind of just helps line them up. All right, tight is tight. We're almost there, man. I'm gonna throw this spool in. I'm gonna take the tiniest, clean off my brush a little bit. Tiny, 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 tiny little grease, and just hit this little spring inside the door here. And this little C-clip. Like super tiny, where you barely even see it. Just tiny little coating just to keep a little water out of there. Throw our spool in. Sit that all the way down, get that door shut. Nice. And then we're just gonna oil a little bit inside this worm gear. Just drop a little in. Oops. And then just slowly work that in real fast. Don't go too fast with it because it'll shoot all over. There's just a little crap left in there from earlier. Not much, but it's there. I just want a little bit more oil on that side of the worm gear. Slowly work it in. I don't know if you can see that happening. I prefer oil up there instead of grease. It's just a little lighter, a little faster, and it gets trapped in that little tube, which is nice. I just tighten this drag down a little bit. Make sure my tension knob is tightened down a bit. Hear this little play? You want to just tighten that knob until that goes away. Just like that. All right, man, we're ready to rock and roll. Damn, this thing feels super smooth for the amount of bearings that it has, I'll tell you. Oh, one more thing with the oil, I'm sorry. I always like to put a drop right on the knobs here where the handles meet the knobs. A little bit there, a little bit there. And I just kind of use gravity and just work them in a bit. This one's really fast. This one not so much. That's okay. All right, man. I think it's just about game over. Just one little tiny wipe off with a fresh paper towel here. My hands are pretty gnarly, but not bad. It's pretty good condition. All right, so there you have it, man. That is the Shimano SLX 151 XG. Pretty sweet reel, not so complicated, nice and simple, only 3 bearings. The majority of the time was pretty much spent cleaning it up, so we kind of blasted through this one, not so bad. Free spooling like a monster. Yes, sir, not bad for 3 bearings. Button works good, drag works good, feeling really nice and smooth, so I hope the missus is happy with the new clean reel she's gonna get to fish with. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're into this sort of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe. We put a new video out every single week. And definitely check out our Shimano Reels playlist. I got a big collection of these reels. I'm always taking them apart, so odds are you're gonna find a few more reels that you're looking to take apart at home. So hopefully those videos help you out as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Later. Sick little reel, bro. Yes, sir. If you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to check out the rest of the Where We Wild YouTube channel, where we post a brand new video every week. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever we post a new adventure. Thanks for watching. See ya.